The day went more quickly than we anticipated in terms of presentation of evidence. It's reasonable at this point to give the defense the evening to prepare its case.
The day went more quickly than anticipated because the key witness in the rape trial of former state representative Aaron von Ehlinger stepped off the witness stand and didn't return. Andrew Bartline was in the courtroom for day 2 of this trial, one that was much anticipated for the prosecution because, as we spoke yesterday, we weren't sure whether or not Jane Doe was going to take the stand today. Well, she did, sort of. So what happened?
Yeah, so she took the stand a little afternoon. It was maybe before 1 o'clock, 12:45-ish, and that was right coming out of the break. And so when Jane Doe took the stand, she was there for 10 minutes or so, maybe less than that, 7. And at one point, Brian, she just couldn't handle it anymore. It got to be too much for her. She was struggling to keep focus. She was struggling to listen to the prosecuting attorney and answer questions directly. She was looking off in the distance, and she just said, "I can't do this." And she got up and she walked out of the room.
Okay, so then, I mean, this is obviously a rarity in a court case or in a trial like this. So what happens now? Do we never hear from Jane Doe again in this case?
So the prosecuting attorney says that she will not be returning. So she's done with this case. She's not going to be coming back. She's not going to be testifying further, which could have been a problem and lead to a mistrial if the defense so chose, because they did not get the opportunity for cross-examination. But based on what came out of that testimony, they decided that it's not worrying them, and they're deciding they're going to keep going forward with it.
So anything that Jane Doe may have testified to up to that point, that's still part of the record?
It's done. It's completely gone. It's not part of the record at all.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So the judge took it off the record completely because the defense did not get the opportunity for cross-examination. So that's not fair. It was only one side. The defense didn't get a chance to respond. So it told the jury, this is completely off the record. Take it out of your minds, out of your memories. When the jury decides to deliberate and decide if Aaron von Ehlinger is guilty or not guilty of his 2 felony charges, they cannot use her testimony at all.
And that deliberation could come as early as tomorrow because, as you heard the judge say, he's going to give the defense tonight to prepare their case. Could we hear anything from the defense side tomorrow?
So the interesting piece with that, the judge says if he brings anybody to the stand, it's going to be his client, Aaron von Ehlinger. They made an agreement with the prosecutors that he's not going to call any of their witnesses back to the stand as long as Jane Doe does not come back to the stand. So all of their witnesses are done, sort of an informal agreement between the two. So Aaron von Ehlinger might come to the stand and be questioned, but we'll have to find out tomorrow. The attorney says, John Cox, defending attorney, is going to look over the evidence. He's going to look over what's in court right now and what's record and make that decision tomorrow morning.
And I guess the question a lot of people have, and maybe it's just for legal experts, but what benefit would there be for Aaron von Ehlinger to take the stand in this case tomorrow?
If they felt there was evidence they needed to get out in front of, and he has a testimony that would refute some incriminating evidence, then yes, that would make sense, right? But if they call him to the stand, then he can be cross-examined by the prosecutors. The prosecutors have put forth this narrative through the beginning of the trial that this is about power dynamics and power imbalances, that he abused his power, a 38-year-old lawmaker over a 19-year-old intern. Well, if he doesn't take the stand, they can't ask him those questions.
So this is just one of those things, went from yesterday not knowing if she's going to testify to testifying to all of a sudden everything that maybe they were counting on just walked out the room.
Correct.
Amazing. All right. Thank you very much, Andrew. We'll keep up with that. And again, starts tomorrow at 9 a.m. And what are the chances they could come to a verdict tomorrow in this case?
I'm not going to speculate on that. It's up in the air.
All right. Thanks, Andrew. Well, they claim they were pushed off campus for showing support for law enforcement. They claim they were a victim of cancel culture. They also claim the school wasn't exactly upfront with them about the controversy surrounding that support and subsequently their coffee shop on campus. So back in October, Big City Coffee filed a $10 million lawsuit against Boise State University, school president Marlene Tromp, and a whole slew of other current and former Boise State officials. A month later, the school asked the judge to throw out that lawsuit. And well, last week, she did, sort of. Judge Cynthia Lee Wallace has dismissed part of the lawsuit, but is allowing other parts to move forward. Sarah Jo Fenley, the owner of Big City Coffee, alleges BSU violated Big City's rights under the U.S. and Idaho constitutions to freedom of speech, and also due process of law and equal protection under the law. She also claims the university violated the Idaho Consumer Protection Act, committing fraud by omission and knowingly, wrongly, and intentionally interfering with a contract. At the center of this lawsuit, a thin blue line flag that hangs at the flagship store in downtown Boise. There it is right there, and it is small. It's a small flag that has been at the location since 2016. Fenley's now husband, former Boise police officer Kevin Holtree, was injured in the line of duty back in 2016. And just a month after their Boise State location opened, Well, it shut its doors for good. Fenley says they were forced off campus a month after because of a social media post that interpreted the flag as a sign of opposition to the Black Lives Matter movement, which began picking up steam in the summer of 2020, if you remember, after George Floyd's death. So here's what the judge ruled last week with regard to this case. The judge dismissed motions against both the university and against Boise State President Dr. Marlene Tromp, saying, well, they can't be sued for monetary damages in their official capacities under the 11th Amendment as an arm of the state. The judge also dismissed the lawsuit against Tromp as an individual, but not against Vice President of Student Affairs and Manager of Enrollment Leslie Webb, Vice President for University Affairs and Chief of Staff Alicia Esty, and Vice President for Equity Initiatives Francisco Salinas. The judge said Fenley can continue her lawsuit against those three on the basis they violated her 14th Amendment rights and treated the business differently than other businesses were treated on campus. Fenley's lawyers now have until May 27th to file an amended complaint. So we reached out to Big City Coffee for some reaction to this, but we've yet to hear back. Well, it's one of the most contested Republican primaries in recent memory. Yet you wouldn't know it with the short list of televised debates scheduled before the May 17th primary. Just 3 state races being argued on TV, and we're hosting 2 of them. Tomorrow night, the GOP debate for Secretary of State will be featured on KTVB. Last night, we heard from Republican candidates who want to lead Idaho public schools. The trio debated for about an hour, giving Idahoans, well, some insight into the candidates that will be on their Republican ballot. And Joe Paris, part of the panel last night, joins us. So your takeaways from last night's hour-long debate.
Well, we saw a clear difference, I should say, between the candidates. We have one candidate, former state senator Brandon Durst, who really framed himself as an outsider in this race. Meanwhile, you have Debbie Critchfield, who's the former president of the State Board of Education. She did have some criticism of the current superintendent, but she's not really pushing an outsider agenda. Finally, in our debate last night, we had current superintendent Sherry Ibarra, and she, throughout the night, defended her record in handling of COVID as the top administrator of Idaho Public Education. Now, a major topic we heard questions on from you at home for weeks, and really we've talked about it a lot here on the 208, critical race theory. Now, before we get into this, to be clear, there is no evidence of system-wide indoctrination of Idaho students. So consider that as we go through this. But this is the candidates, their response to our questions about critical race theory in Idaho.
We know that it's happening in Boise School District. We know that it's happening in the West Ada School District. We know it's happening in the Nampa School District. There are places that it's happening, some places more insidiously than others, but it is happening and we must stop it once and for all.
I've seen no evidence of a systemic effort to have it in our schools. This is what I do know. I talk to a lot of people who have no idea what it is. They've heard the acronym, and some people aren't even sure what the acronym spells out. And for those folks, they're wondering what's going on. If we can use that to draw more attention to what is being taught in the classroom and engage our parents, that's a good thing.
And I'm looking at the voters tonight saying I do not support CRT. As the mother of an interracial child, Idahoans find that offensive, and so do I. It's ridiculous. But parents are concerned, and what I would say to you as a parent tonight, we're not one of those scary examples in the Hillsdale College Journal report, but I will be the superintendent on your behalf that travels the state and continues to investigate allegations of CRT, and I have yet to see it as your state superintendent.
So a large spectrum of opinions on that topic. And another large topic, state versus local control. And when we were asking candidates about this, we were talking about, did candidates support hyper-local control with rare state intervention, or do they prefer the more traditional system like we see right now?
Since day one, I've been a staunch supporter of local control. That is why you have never seen me mandate masks or close schools across the state of Idaho. That is exactly why you also saw my in-person learning bill get through the legislature, because when schools closed, we knew as educators that was not working. I did not like what I saw, so that was the time to step in. That's a fine example of time to get these buildings open, Madam Superintendent, make sure our kids are back in the classroom.
The Idaho Constitution, as we've already talked about, tells us that we have a public education system to support a Republican form of government. And so when we saw last fall families being forced to mask their children over their own objections, that was a case where we should have gone ultra-local, back to the parents. The State Board of Education should have passed a state board policy to prohibit mask mandates in local school districts. If you're in the West Ada School District, you would have had to stand in line for hours to kiss the ring of the king to be able to get to choose what to do with your child. I think that's wrong.
Being an advocate for local control and supporting that does not mean leaving school districts to themselves. And that is what I have consistently heard over the last 2 years, and goes back to a statement that Mr. Durst made. As president of the board, I was equally frustrated with the inability and the lack of support, the lack of service that was happening in the K-12 arena. And as an appointed volunteer, I was not able to address that. That's why I'm seeking a different position at the same table. And there's a statutory line of what is available for local boards. The superintendent is a partner, is a supporter, and the State Department of Education needs to serve as a service center.
So there you go. We got some pretty clear differences between the candidates last night. Brian, of course, if you're interested, the full debate available right now at ktvb.com. We want everyone to join us tomorrow at 6 o'clock for the Secretary of State debate between the GOP candidates. It should be very interesting, especially considering some of the fireworks we saw on Idaho Public Television last night.
And whether or not election integrity is a thing in Idaho should come up quite a few times tomorrow night. We'll expect that. All right. Thank you very much, Joe. It is considered one of the most stressful jobs one can have, working a 10-hour shift as a 911 dispatcher. It can take a mental toll that for some can be overwhelming. You never know who's going to be on the other end of that line and what sort of emergency they are facing. The Ada County Dispatch Center is trying something new to help with that stress. A four-legged addition that serves a double purpose. Here's Katya Stepovic.
911, what's the address of the emergency?
The life of a 911 dispatcher.
Okay, what color and type of vehicle was it?
Can sometimes be
And tell me exactly what happened.
intense and disheartening.
And does she have any pain?
But for the past 2 weeks at Ada County Sheriff's Dispatch Center, a new member, like no employee they've had yet, joined the team.
What do you think? You don't think nothing?
8-year-old Bug was among 27 Yorkies seized from deplorable conditions in Elmore County.
The animals were heavily matted. They had cheatgrass embedded in them. They had filthy kennels and stagnant water, and they were in just awful conditions.
And now her road to recovery starts here at the dispatch center.
We talked about the idea of having a therapy dog for the dispatchers because of the hard work they do and how emotionally tolling it can be. But because of the environment, it's not a perfect place to have a therapy dog that would live. So talked to the animal control director, and we came up with a plan to implement the foster program.
It's pretty awesome to walk into the dispatch center and immediately have just a dog available to you.
Nicole Whitaker, 911 dispatch manager, says coming to work is different these days.
This morning our staff was discussing it and really called it a miracle worker of sorts.
And putting on a smile after a tough call, not so challenging anymore.
Our dispatchers take a wide range of calls, but some of those are truly horrific things to experience with people on the other end of that line. And so to be able to turn and have this like small dog that we're taking care of her, but in the same sense, she's taking just as much care of us, when it's nice to have that like little emotional support.
Good girl.
Bug has a ruptured eardrum. She has gone through one major surgery and has another one coming up. But now she's got dispatchers by her side day and night to help her through it.
We actually have an entire rotation that we have people sign up for, making sure she's fed and gets her meds in the morning, and then fed and gets those same meds at night.
So while it's not known where her forever home will be, dispatchers welcome their furry friend.
It's just really rewarding to be people who can be advocates for, you know, an animal that's never going to be able to speak up for herself.
And hope she won't be the last.
And the Humane Society is open to doing something similar with other businesses. People who are interested can fill out an application, and then the Humane Society will come see if your business is the right environment for a foster dog. As for the rest of the Yorkies and Bug herself, a lot of them are not in good health and need surgeries, meaning they're not up for adoption just yet. But hopefully this is the first of many dispatch dogs to come, Brian.
Yeah, so once Bug gets adopted out, I guess there will be quickly try to get another one in there, right? That's the whole point?
Yeah, that is the point. And another topic on this, they get first pick, dispatchers do, so it might be that someone there adopts her.
And Bug seems to be the perfect size to fit in that room. All right, thank you very much, Katya. That was awesome. All right, April showers bring May flowers, sure, but they're not quite bringing enough rain to help us get us out of this drought. Wish it would bring more. Today, we got a peek at just how bad it's going to become this summer, possibly. U.S. Army Corps of Engineers says because we are in a second consecutive year of low water levels, It's going to make it difficult to fill Lucky Peak. So to maximize irrigation demands and environmental needs, Lucky Peak is going to remain below average through the summer, they said. And that means several boat ramps at Lucky Peak will not be available for use this year. And that is incredible. Photos like this, you're going to see a lot of that, including ramps at Roby Creek, Max Creek Campground, and part of Barkley Bay. Ramps at Turner Gulch and Spring Shores Marina will still be open. But before you head out, make sure you are aware of water levels and be careful. Those water levels, lower ones, they pose new hazards like shallow rocky areas and outcroppings in the lake itself.
No, this was the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. The pushback I have received from different organizations, institutions, has been the hardest thing, and to stay with it too has been so hard. And like holding a job and trying to get this done, so having everyone here means literally everything to me, because this was the hardest thing I've ever done.
She honestly thought it was going to be easy. It's quite a thing to go from bothered to benefactor in just 4 months. But that's exactly what Ally Orr has done. Last December, Ally, a marketing senior at Boise State University, heard what one of the school's political science professors said at a conservatism conference last fall. Remember that? When Scott Yenner said women were more medicated, meddlesome, and quarrelsome than women need to be, and how they shouldn't be taking spots away from men at universities to study things like engineering, medicine, and law. Well, when that speech went public, Ally was bothered. Well, she was more than bothered. She went from bothered to bitter to getting busy. With an idea she swiped from social media, Ally decided to start a scholarship for women in STEM, medicine, and law. She started a GoFundMe account, and she spent the night of December 2nd of last year sending out batches of emails to like 80% of Boise State's faculty and staff, asking for donations. 12 hours later, there were more than $10,000 in that GoFundMe account. 3 days later, it was up to $25,000. And today, there's more than $202,000 in that GoFundMe account to fund this scholarship. Also today, Ally awarded the first of what will likely be many scholarships that bear her name. And the woman that win that, Jessica Lambert, a third-year mechanical engineering student who's also working toward a minor in computer science. Jessica grew up in Saipan, but graduated from Timberline High School in Boise. Now, Jessica says she's gotten several scholarships before, lots of them, enough to pay for tuition and housing for her freshman year and some of her sophomore year. And all of them have been great, she said, very much appreciated. To her, they say, you're worth it, and we want to invest in you. You know, every bit helps. And the $2,430 that comes with this scholarship will certainly help. But to Jessica, the message with this one means more than the money.
To me, this is like the university, Ally, people around the community being like, you are worth investing in. Women are worth investing in. And we believe in you. And this is so different from other scholarships because of how much Ally had to do to make it live. And the fact that it's endowed, and the fact that everyone in the community is just so willing to give for that.
Jessica says the Women in STEM, Medicine, and Law Scholarship will give her an extra semester at school to ease her burden a bit. Not only is she a full-time engineering student, she's also a mentor for the robotics team, and she works 2 jobs at the Engineering Innovation Studio and the New Product Development Lab. So what about the hundreds of thousands of dollars left in that scholarship fund? Well, that's going to remain as an endowment, as you just heard, meaning it will go on forever to fund 4% scholarships for student or students. By the way, Ally's GoFundMe is going to close on May 7th. It's been up since December. But today she also announced an anonymous donor is going to add another $250,000 to that scholarship. Not a bad way to turn a misogynistic message into something meaningful, turning anger into access for eternity. All right, final moments of the show here to take a look at your comments. Quite the array today, kind of all over the place with the topics, like this one from Kyle, referring to the debate between the candidates for state superintendent on the Republican ticket. CRT, CRT, CRT. Be scared. Seriously, how much time and money is going to be wasted investigating imaginary issues? Asked Kyle. Good question. I'm sure a few of those imaginary issues might be coming up tomorrow night's debate as well. Stay tuned for that. Who's the king wearing the ring that candidate Durst referred to? I don't know. We can only assume it was West Ada superintendent. That's who he was speaking about at the time he made that comment. Is Giddings going to be punished in any way for releasing the name of Jane Doe? You remember there was a Facebook post that she put out that named her, showed her picture right after these allegations came forward, defending Von Ehlinger in this case. Well, if you remember of last year, November 2021, I want to say, there was that special session. They came back and they voted 49-19, the House of Representatives did, to censure Giddings and remove her from one of her committees. So yes, if you can consider that a punishment, that's what happened. Register as a Republican if you want to vote Republican. That's the rule. It's been that way for 10 years. That's kind of how things work. If you don't, well, you can register day of as well. So we'll see you tomorrow.